Hello. Everyone, take a deep breath. Hold it. Let it go. Good. Now, pay close attention. I've seen you around the last few days. I'm Jeff Stein, an architect and a co-president of the Cosanti Foundation. The organization that governs this place, Arcosanti. Arcosanti, as you have been finding out the past few days, is a very special place in the Arizona desert. And it's my privilege to welcome you here in the middle of our FORM Arcosanti weekend to this place on behalf of Cosanti, Arcosanti, FORM, family artists, and by the way, now you are all family. And on behalf of 100 Waters, who have invented this entire weekend. I have the privilege of saying a few words about 100 Waters tonight before we start, but I find I can't say too many of them without talking about Arcosanti as well. So, for the next couple of minutes, I'll say a few words about Arcosanti. It'll be like a 5-minute seminar, just the 700 of us. Arcosanti started in this place in 1970 with a question. The same question that this FORM Arcosanti Festival started with, and that's, how shall we live? How shall 8 billion of us humans share the planet with each other and with a few million other species? This is a question all of us are going to encounter in what's left of our lives. The answer from Cosanti Foundation, and you're sitting in the beginning of the middle of it, is Arcology, architecture and ecology as two parts of a single whole system. The name Cosanti comes from two Italian words mashed together by the founder of this place, the architect Paolo Soleri. Cosa, meaning things, anti, before. Cosanti means before things. It's an urban research institute talking about ideas. Almost the opposite of, say, the Nike shoe company, whose motto is, just do it. Instead, at Cosanti, we just think about it. We imagine how it's going to affect generations ahead of us. We think about what sorts of resources it's going to use, and we also decide how it would be if everybody did it, which is an interesting attitude you might cop to in your lifetimes. Whatever you're doing, imagine how the world would have to change if 8 billion of us were doing the same thing. So, how shall we live? We're going to live in cities, that's for sure. Over half of us on the planet now live in cities, and in our lifetimes, 2 billion more of us are going to be moving to cities. The challenge for all of us that we've taken up here at Arcosanti is that over many years, as we have designed cities, factories, farms, automobiles, highways, schools, gas stations, cars, pretty much all of our cultural artifacts, we have had no idea how the earth actually works. No idea how life has begun and made a foothold here on this planet. As we found out more and more, we've discovered that life favors two conditions importantly: miniaturization and complexity. Density, in other words, what we're experiencing right here in this East Crescent neighborhood tonight. And by the way, I live right over there. My apartment is part of this neighborhood, and so welcome to my neighborhood. Here's how density works in real life, and it has to do with the design of the human brain. Each one of our brain cells, synapses, connects directly with 15,000 other brain cells immediately surrounding it. Quite a communications medium. If instead our brain were only a few cells thick, the way most American cities, which are also communications media, are only a few stories tall, our brains would spread out, as cities do, for hundreds of feet on all sides of our head. We'd be funny looking. It would be really expensive to buy hats for all of us. And the time it would take an electrical impulse from go to one side of the brain to the other, the time from, say, thinking, I'm thirsty, to actually getting a drink of water, would have been too long to sustain us as a life form on the planet. Here's another example from our neighbors over in Santa Fe, the Santa Fe Institute, a group of theoretical physicists led by Jeffrey West, who have been doing urban research much the way Cosanti Foundation has. They've been looking at biological organisms. They've discovered that an elephant is 10,000 times bigger than a mouse, but an elephant only requires 1,000 times the amount of energy a mouse does. Why is that? Because an elephant is not 10,000 separate mice. It is one single, elegantly designed organism. And that's what we have in mind as the basis for Arcology, as the basis for Arcosanti, and it's what we're experimenting with right here in this East Crescent neighborhood. Rather than distribute houses up close to noisy, dangerous, car-filled, carbon monoxide-filled streets, we have instead distributed residences, a library, an archive, classrooms, dormitory space for our own students, to form the back wall of a performing arts amphitheater. As a result, and you're right in the middle of it. As a result, some of the most extraordinary events in the world happen right on our doorsteps, and tonight is one of those. So, Arcosanti started 45 years ago, built by amateurs who wanted to answer the question, how shall we live? Built over those 45 years by some 7,000 people who have participated in the 5- and 6-week construction workshops here. Yeah. Is the beginning of something really interesting. Since the founding by Paolo Soleri, we have developed now a strategic plan steering committee that is meaning to take this place into the next level and through the 21st century here as it grows to eventually, sooner or later, in our lifetimes or a little later than that, become a town for several thousand people. You, who have been lucky enough to share this weekend with us and with the fantastic artists and musicians of Form 2, when you leave this place, the Greeks have a name for what it is you need to do, a term for how you can be part of your communities going forward, your civic activities, and the term is citizen. When you leave this place, you need to go back to your hometowns and become citizens of those cities, citizens of the earth. Now, the Greeks also had an equally descriptive term for those who were not citizens, And no kidding, that term is idiots. Those are the choices, citizen or idiot. Today, there are enough distractions worldwide to make idiots of us all. But if cities are our future, if we're to live in functioning communities, it must be citizens that make them. The art and practice of citizenship are essential to 21st century citizen making. Now, this is where 100 Waters comes from. Paul, Nicole, Zach, Trayer are artist citizens, not content with mere self-expression. Not only music makers, they are practitioners of the art of citizenship, and they have chosen this place, Arcosanti, to practice that art. Another architect in Arizona, Frank Lloyd Wright, famously said, "Architecture is frozen music. 100 Waters music is certainly liquid architecture." What we are trying to do with architecture at Arcosanti, 100 Waters is doing with their music, connecting us to each other, to our surroundings, to what it means to be fully human. Good, you've been patient. Let me stop now with a story by Italo Calvino from his book, Invisible Cities. It might seem familiar. Those who finally arrive can see little of the city beyond the plank fences, the sackcloth screens, the scaffoldings, the metal armatures, the wooden catwalks hanging from ropes or supported by sawhorses, the ladders, the trestles. If you ask, why is construction taking such a long time? The inhabitants continue hoisting sacks, lowering leaded strings, moving long brushes up and down as they answer, so that its destruction cannot begin. And if asked whether they fear that once the scaffoldings are removed, the city may begin to crumble and fall to pieces, they add hastily, in a whisper, not only the city. If, dissatisfied with those answers, someone puts his eye to a crack in a fence, he sees cranes pulling up other cranes, scaffoldings that embrace other scaffoldings, beams that prop up other beams. What meaning does your construction have, he asks. What's the aim of a city under construction unless it's a city? Where's the plan you're following, the blueprint? We will show it to you as soon as the working day is over. We cannot interrupt our work now, they answer. Work stops at sunset. Darkness falls over the building site. The sky is filled with stars. There is the blueprint, they say. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to Arcosanti this weekend. It is our pleasure to host you here. Now, remain calm, talk quietly among yourselves, for in just 5 minutes, it will be 100 Waters at Arcosanti.